Next up on the Cosmic News Network, First Contact with Joshua Putt.
Good morning, Earthlings. How you doing today? Welcome back to First Contact Radio. I hope that you had a good weekend. It's getting cold out here in California. I hear it's getting cold around the rest of the country as well. Talked to a few friends, and the weather is definitely changing. Winter has arrived. So let's look at what we have going on for today. Today's the 19th. We have a lot of activity taking place. Our sun sign is in Sagittarius. It will be there for another 2 more days, and we could see at 4:44 a.m. on Wednesday is when we switch into the next sign, which is Capricorn. So today we're finishing out, today and tomorrow, finishing out the ideas of Sagittarius with our conscious mind, focusing on the positive, the higher self, the higher perspectives of things. And our unconscious mind at the moment is an earth sign, and it's the sign of Virgo, the hermit, teaching us the lessons of patience. Patience and timing, very important lessons to learn. A couple of our aspects have already passed. Mars entering Pisces, so energizing our emotions. And then at 5:23 a.m. an opposition with Neptune, which says we need to take a new perspective on the way in which we are experiencing and looking at things. And since it was in opposition with the Hermit, which is all about patience and timing, it deals with taking a perspective on the timing of things. You know, what timing are we looking at? That's the very important aspect to understand. This afternoon, 3:59 p.m., Virgo will be in a trine with Mercury, the communicator, and then at 6:41 in a trine with Pluto. Trines are nice, good, positive energy, so it shows that energy is flowing, positively, and it's affecting us in ways that can be beneficial in areas of communication and in areas of transformation. So part of the process that we're going through is understanding that we're all going through change. And as we're going through change, if we accept the change that we're going through, accept that there are changes that are taking place, then we have an opportunity to be able to move with these changes. So we've been in Sagittarius, the higher self, teaching us the idea that we need to be balanced in life, we need to be temperate in life, we need to understand that there's more than just the earthly plane here, that we rise above the earthly plane and we have a much higher connection to the things around us, okay? Now, the unconscious mind right now, the Hermit, this is the idea of patience and timing. Very important lesson, okay? Everything has a timing to it. Sometimes we want to do things out of time because we feel pressured, and then things get thrown off. Think of a car, okay? A car has a timing belt. The timing belt, when it is in time, the car runs smoothly. When the timing belt's off, even just a little bit, the car will not run as smooth as it will if it's in time. And that's the same thing with us, with life, with everything we're doing. There's a time and a place of how things move and where things move accordingly to the big picture. So we just have to be patient. Sometimes observing is good, but we get all hepped up. We want to observe, and then we want to become judgmental about a situation. And once we do that, now we become biased at times, and once we get into that arena, then we sometimes find ourselves lost. So we need to get out of that judgment state by being non-judgmental, just looking at things, observing. So we're observing the changes taking place. Okay, Sagittarius, the higher self on the Jewish calendar, it's the 19th of Kislev. We could see that this month is synced up with the Gregorian calendar, and the time of Hanukkah, very interestingly, is lined up exactly with the same time as Christmas. Not only that, but if we look at the end of the year, this is the last day of the year on the calendar. The very last day of the year is the 31st, the last day of the year. So everything is lining up at the end of this year, you know what I mean? We have Sunday through Saturday. Saturday is the last day of the week on the calendar, and then we go all the way to the far left to the first day of the week. This year, the first day of the week is going to be January 1st. This year, the last day of the week is December 31st. So everything is in synchronicity, and this whole month of December is in synchronicity. It's the 19th on our calendar, the Gregorian. It's the 19th on the Jewish calendar. Christmas and Hanukkah are both going to be at the same time. There's an alignment, my friends. There's something connecting together. These alignments don't always line up this way every year. So something significant is happening. Again, I believe this is all in regards to what is taking place not only here in America, but throughout the world, that there's great change upon us, and agents of change, of positive change, are being put in positions to be able to affect that positive change. So that's why I think everything's lining up the way it is. Our moon phase currently is 64.1% of the way full. It'll be at the 1/4 moon tomorrow evening. And then on Wednesday morning, it's going to, when we hit the new sign, we're going to be moving into the winter solstice, the time where we've gone through the shortest day of the year, and now the sun starts to move back up. And one important note here, we are in a Mercury retrograde phase, just starting today. It says the fourth and final Mercury retrograde starts December 19th, 15 degrees Capricorn, ends 8th of January 2017 at 28 degrees Sagittarius. Mercury retrograde December through January is intense as it gets, with a close alignment to Pluto. The power and the control struggles expected from this combination are further intensified by the egocentric fixed star Vega. While this Christmas Mercury retrograde 2016 may be ideal for deep research in uncovering secrets, you will need to be on guard against all manners of devious plots, lies, and backstabbing. For those interested in astrology or psychology, this should be a time of deep self-analysis and discovery. Before I go on in detail about Mercury retrograde, I will talk about what it means to have Mercury retrograde in your natal chart, okay? So this is a really good article, very good article on the subject and what's going on. I'm going to leave that for you to read and do your research, but just want you to know this is the phase we're going in. The whole point of this exercise of talking about the energies, talking about the retrogrades, the effects of the planets and stars, is because we are all affected by these energy fields that are moving all around us, moving through us, and so on. If we understand, then we can move through things more effectively. So with the Mercury retrograde, a lot of times people say, oh, that stuff is nonsense. That doesn't really happen. I'm very clear during a retrograde. And that may be. Each individual is affected differently. But it's important at times that we look at more than just ourselves, and that we understand that maybe we might be okay during this phase. Maybe we might not be affected mentally or emotionally during this phase, but people we may be interacting with may be. Therefore, it would behoove us to take a little bit extra time, be patient with others as we go through this time, just to make sure everybody's on the same page. It just means making sure all the I's are dotted and all the T's are crossed, going over the little details. Okay, it's not the time to begin something brand new, but it is the time to end a process that has been going on for a while. Here we are during this last Mercury retrograde, finalizing the process of this entire election cycle. It's been a long, draining cycle, and here we're at the last phase. We hit the Mercury retrograde, and one of the things it talks about are the deceptions, the devious plots and stuff. Well, we can expect that that's going to happen. We understand who the players are involved, and there's been devious plots all along, so why would that stop? It's just a confirmation that as things get to the next phase of clarity, there's still some nonsense that needs to be weeded out. So I believe we're going through that process, but that is all of the energies around us. And finally, let's take a look at our solar weather for today. Space weather, excuse me. Solar weather, solar wind is 347.4 kilometers per second. Planetary K index, quiet in the 1 range, probably going to get up to a 2 over the next 24 hours. We've got that large opening up on top of the sun again, spread out across the middle as you could see, so we will be feeling the effect of that. It says around the 20th, 21st, next 2 days. M-class flare possibility and X-class are both at 1% for the moment. And geomagnetic storm activity, mid-latitudes is 30%, staying stable the next 24 to 48 hours. And in the upper latitudes, the same thing as well, staying stable in each of the different degrees, active, minor, and severe. So we do have some stability taking place, while at the same time things are a bit erratic. But of course, we are winding out this last phase of Sagittarius, the last phase of us looking at the world, really connecting with that higher self. And the next one we're going to move into is Capricorn. Capricorn is the goat. Capricorn is an earth sign, so it's all about the practicality of the physical world and the earth, but it's a reminder that there's more beyond that. So there's illusion that we need to deal with. So as we're getting ready to go into that phase, starting on Wednesday, this is our last preparation. Make sure we're connected in with that higher self. Connect in, understand the lessons, understand the importance of the patience and timing, so as we move and roll forward into the next phase, into the next mind activity, Capricorn, we now can be prepared a little bit more because we understand what's ahead of us. Okay? All right, there you go. That is our cosmic weather. UFO news is up next.
This is the UFO News with Joshua Poet.
All right, Dirk, thank you very much. Today, I have 4 good stories. The first one takes us back a couple of months to September 26th. Seems like a long time ago, doesn't it? September 26th, Michigan, Lake Michigan right here. See a whole line of them. Well, we got 1, 2, 3, 4 right there. Another one out here. They're a nice, good straight line. Could maybe indicate they are part of one object. If that's the case, it's a long object. More than likely, it looks like they're separate. Here's another one out here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They could also be light patterns on a... Let's see some of the video here. It says mysterious lights in the sky over Lake Michigan appear to be some kind of hovering aircraft. They move too slow to be airplanes. Videos and pictures by Ignacio Alvarez on a Monday, September 26th. Alright, so it's a 3-minute 11-second video. There's all the objects. Alright, so you can see right there. Either they're flying in really good formation, or they are all the edge of a much larger craft that is cloaked. You can almost kind of see by the lights here that there could possibly be some sort of shape in here. Anyway, I'm going to leave the video available for you at firstcontactradio.com so you can check it out, see what you think about that. We're going to move on now over to some black helicopters chasing a UFO. This is in the UK. It says window cleaner Darren Cooper was having a cigarette in his garden when he spotted the small dark object zooming across the sky. Just after Mr. Cooper recorded the bizarre small dark ring flying through the sky, a black helicopter emerged and followed in hot pursuit. The dad of 4 who lives in Southampton said, as I went back to the house to look at the footage, within 2 minutes the helicopter was above the house, so I ran back outside with the camcorder, and the chopper was on the same path in the sky. Okay, so let's take a look at what we have here. It's a 2-minute and 46-second video. It doesn't seem to want to play. There we go. Alright, there's our object. See, it's real small right here. And the black helicopter should be coming in. Alright, let me zip ahead a little bit here. Very interesting. The video is available. You can check it out. Again, enlarge the screen. You'll be able to see it much better. That is the black helicopter over the UK. Now here's a video for you you might find interesting. That's why I put it here. This is a story. It's a story of a woman who went out traveling. She was out there by Area 51, and according to her story, she was abducted. Now, this could be a real story. It could just be made up. I don't know. I'm playing it for you or making it available to you because I found it, and it seems pretty fascinating. A lot of stories out there. This woman, you know, she has a very interesting story here. The one thing about the video, as you listen to it, it is one of those computerized voices. It's not her talking. So, you know, whether you think that lends credibility or takes away from it, I don't know. It is what it is. But according to this, it says this woman claimed the most terrifying experience she suffered was after having visiting the outskirts of Area 51 in the Nevada desert. Area 51 is a top-secret U.S. military base where UFO conspiracists claim the authorities conceal evidence of aliens visiting the Earth from the public. Okay, and one last story for today. This one here isn't necessarily about flying saucers, but about other objects in the sky. Extraterrestrials here, of sorts, or as maybe in the past, this is what we heard were the extraterrestrials, angels. It says here is a really informative documentary about aliens and how they intermingle in our lives. Winged beings have been seen in many forms, but have also been found in alien Apollo astronauts. One Apollo mission actually came back with a hand-sized statue of an angel they found in the moon's surface. Of course, the story disappeared soon after in the news, but the photos still circulate. Angels exist, but are they just an alien species that have evolved through genetic manipulation to create a species with amazing abilities? That may never be answered, but the truth is, such beings exist. Call them what you will, angels or aliens, but their intentions are usually good when interactions take place. Alright, what we have here is a 56-minute documentary on the subject by Endheim Productions. So there you go. I thought you'd find that quite interesting. We're all very interested in angels and their perspectives on our lives and actually what their purpose is. So very good documentary on the subject. That is it for the UFO news. Stay tuned. I'll be back. Wake up.
What if our government was responsible for some of the greatest crimes against this nation? Would you really want to know? These are big questions, but these questions deserve answers. It's time to demand the truth.
People shouldn't be afraid of their governments. Governments should be afraid of them.
9/11 was an inside job. Kennedy was killed by the CIA. Jimmy Carter saw UFO. Answers to secrets you need to know. So wake up, wake up, wake up. wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Patriots arise. It's time to demand the truth.
Okay, continuing on. So, let us see where we're at here. Today we've got the electors are meeting, and they're going to go through their process. So prior to this, we've had a whole week of hearing about hacking that took place. So we're going to start off with hacking right off the bat. Here's a video for you. I'm going to leave this for you. It's a 3-minute video. Breaking news: Washington Post now confirms the Department of Homeland Security hacked election in 20 different states. So, seems to me we have a problem here. Seems to me that how do we accuse another country of hacking into us when it's then discovered that we ourselves were doing it? You know what that's called? An attempt at a false flag. But they were caught. Okay? They were obviously going to try to pin all of these locations that the Department of Homeland Security hacked. They were probably going to try to blame it on somebody else, and it looks like the Russians were going to be the target of that. Even though Julian Assange has come out and said the Russians had nothing to do with it. Even though Seth Rich has been the one that has been pointed to as the insider that leaked the information. Even though John Podesta made the mistake of answering a phishing email and gave away his information, even though Hillary had this server in her basement or in her bathroom in her place, even though all this stuff is going on, it's they're still trying to lie and tell us that it's not really happening. So, very important that we are aware of the tricks that are going on. This is the battle. Remember, we're in a battle right now, my friends, a battle for the freedom of this country. Now, we've seen all kind of childish behavior from the liberal Democratic side. I've never seen in my entire life such poor behavior. And now they've found a new person to blame. First they wanted to blame Trump, and then they tried to do the recounts, and then they tried to blame the Russians, and not all that's working. So now Clinton advisors are pointing their fingers at Huma. It's her fault that Hillary lost. Well, many of Hillary Clinton's top advisors have focused their post-presidential election fury on blaming alleged Russian interference, and FBI Director James Comey for Clinton's loss. Some in the so-called Hillary land orbit are looking inward, including pointing fingers at Clinton's most trusted aide, Huma Abedin. The real anger is toward Hillary's inner circle, a Clinton insider told Vanity Fair on Wednesday. They reinforced all the bad habits. All right, so basically, they just can't accept the fact that they lost. You know why they lost? Because they were corrupt. Hillary's problem had nothing to do with these other people's corruption. Hillary has her own level of corruption, and it was because of this that they lost. It has nothing to do with anybody else, because at the end of the day, Hillary was the one up on stage during the debates. Hillary was the one running. Hillary was the one who should have made the difference. And if she has to rely upon anybody else, then Hillary's not really running things, is she? Which is what people were saying. So the fact that she wants to blame everybody else is a good confirmation that Hillary wasn't in charge, that she thinks all these other people were in charge. And there is proof that we dodged a bullet by not having this person in. Now, a big discussion that's been going on has been this discussion about the popular vote. Okay? The discussion is really misunderstood. First of all, from the time we've been a country to now, 240 years, every time we've done an election, it has been using the process of the Electoral College. We don't do elections based on the popular vote. So to hear a group, the Democrats, crying out that we need the popular vote is ludicrous, because we've never done the popular vote. The popular vote only counts in the states. Why? because we have a country that wants to make sure everybody has an equal say. But when you have states that are unbalanced in their populations, it's hard to do that, because then the state with the largest population is going to have more say of something than a state with a smaller population. However, I can assure you that what people think in California is different than what people think in Iowa. So should the people in Iowa not get an equal representation as the people of California and how things are run? They sure should. So the way that the system works is each of the 50 states is equal to each of the other 50 states. And the way that the population of each state is reflected is in the amount of electors each state awards. So California, which has the largest population, has the most electors, and the person who wins California gets all of those electors. So each one of the 50 states is equal to all of the other 50 states. Each one of the 50 states has an amount of electors that are available to them, and each one of the 50 states does a popular vote within that state to determine whether the state will choose a Republican or a Democrat. The elector's job at this point in time is simply to go forth to exercise the will of the people by finalizing that vote that the people voted on. The elector's job is not to overturn anything. That's not how the process works. Okay? Back in the day of the Founding Fathers, the people that were involved were men of high moral character. We don't have those same type of people in our society as electors today. Would you say this guy, Chris Suprin, down in Texas, is of a high moral character? I wouldn't. I wouldn't even put him in the same arena, because we see the lies and the deception of this guy. So we have a different quality of people. We have more people right now than back then. We have more people wanting to commit crimes and things than we did back then. So we have different issues we need to deal with. The popular vote only will work within that state to choose who that candidate is within that state. But once you get outside of it, you have to now look at the Electoral College. Okay? So I hope that helps you understand. This article is a really good article to help you understand a few things here. Very important. It said it's official. Clinton's popular vote win came entirely from California. Democrats who are having trouble getting out of the first stage of grief, denial, aren't being helped by the fact that now all of the votes are counted. Hillary's lead in the popular vote has topped 2.8 million, giving her a 48% share of the vote compared with Trump's 46%. To those unschooled in how the United States selects presidents, this seems totally unfair. But look more closely at the numbers, and you will see that Clinton's advantage all but disappears. As we noted in this space earlier, while Clinton's overall margin looks large and impressive, it's due to Clinton's huge margin of victory in one state, California, where she got a whopping 4.3 million more votes than Trump. California is the only state, in fact, where Clinton's margin of victory was bigger than President Obama's in 2012, 61.5 versus Obama's 60. But California is the exception that proves the true genius of the Electoral College, which was designed to prevent regional candidates from dominating national elections. In recent years, California has been turning into what amounts to be a one-party state. Between 2008 and 2016, the number of Californians who registered as Democrats climbed by 1.1 million, while the number of registered Republicans dropped almost 400,000. What's more, many Republicans in the state had nobody to vote for in November. There were 2 Democrats and 0 Republicans running to replace Senator Barbara Boxer. There were no Republicans on the ballot for House seat in 9 of California's congressional districts. At the state level, 6 districts had no Republicans running for the state Senate, and 16 districts had no Republicans running for state assembly seats. Plus, the Republicans knew Clinton was going to win the state and its entire 55 electoral votes. Casting a ballot for Trump was virtually meaningless, just no matter what her margin of victory, Clinton was getting all of the 55 votes. Is it any wonder then that Trump got 11% fewer California votes than John McCain did in 2008? Clinton got 6% more than Obama did 8 years ago, but the number of registered Democrats in the state also climbed by 13% in those years. If you take California out of the popular vote equation, this is the important part, my friends. If you take California out of the equation, Trump wins the rest of the country by 1.4 million votes. And if California voted like every other Democrat state, where Clinton averaged 53.5% wins, Clinton and Trump end up in a virtual popular tie. But this was not the case in 2012. Obama beat Romney by 2 million votes that year, not counting California. Meanwhile, if you look at every other measure, Trump was the clear and decisive winner. Okay, right here, number of states, Trump got 30 states. That means in 30 states, he won the popular vote. So people want to tell you Hillary won the popular vote? No, she didn't. She won the popular vote in 20 states, but he won it in 30. And by my accounting, 30 is more than 10. As a matter of fact, it's 10 more. The number of electoral votes, you need 270 to win. He got 306. She didn't even make the mark. He had 68 more than she did. I'd say that's another victory there. The average margin of victory in the winning states, his average margin of victory was 56% versus 53.5, so he had a larger margin of victory on average. The popular vote, all together with all 50 states, he had 62,958,000. She had 65,818,000. Okay, this is where the difference come in, 2.8 million. However, let us take from that equation California's votes, and we're going to subtract the 58 million that he got. We're going to subtract the 57 million that she got. And in the other 49 states, Trump has the lead by 1.4 million. Okay, so the popular vote is very deceptive. Overall, we could say, yes, she has more votes. But those votes all come from one state. 49 of the states gave Trump a 1.4 million lead. That's after 49 states. One state, California, a state where they have no voter ID, a state where they're continually having voter fraud take place, a state where there's continually complaints about voter fraud. This is the state where all of these extra votes came in for Hillary. Well, it's not surprising. It's not surprising. I know illegals vote here all the time. And they're going to continue to vote, and they get shipped around from place to place to place. And they, that's what they do. That's how Hillary rolls, cheating. So when people ask you and try to tell you she won the popular vote, tell them the truth of the matter, that Donald Trump won the popular vote in 20 states or 30 states as opposed to her 20, that Donald Trump won 49 states by 1.4 million, and all of her votes only came from one location, and that the country itself doesn't use the popular vote because the country itself knows that we can't just look at one state and allow one state to dictate what goes on in the whole country. If that was the case, all of the 49 states would have to be dictated to by what California says and does. And that's not going to happen, because there's a lot of nutty things that happen in California. Got a lot of loony liberal ideas out here in California. You have a lot of brain-dead people in the music and in acting business that are out there spouting Democratic lies. This is a weird place. It's a very weird place out here in California. I refer to it as Holly Weird because that's exactly what it is. And I certainly wouldn't want to have this influence of California dictating what goes on in the rest of the country. Not by any means whatsoever. So the Electoral College is very important, and we'll see it all play itself out today through everything that's going on. Now, we know about the corruption of Hillary Clinton. Let me bring this story up first here. And I think it's important that we continue to remind ourselves of the corruption that she's involved with, because just because she's out of sight, we don't want to have her be out of mind, because this is a woman who has done a lot of corrupt things, and she's still doing corrupt things. And believe me, this woman probably has tons of pressure on her from all of her donors to do something, and I'm sure she's going to try to claw her way into the office of presidency until the very last moment that she can't. So we have to keep putting the pressure on, and here's some of the ways that we're doing this: by continuing to source out stories and information about some of her debaucherous behavior. Here's a story that links her, the Clintons, and the Soros in a child porn investigation in Norway, and also involved in the process of fake news out in the same area. You can see it's a very lengthy article, so I'm just going to read the opening section for you here. It says, after a tsunami of coerced self-censorship wiped away the truth from American media, there's now a new blackout on Pizzagate in the Norway child porn arrests. Online discussion boards have shown that an AP report on the Norwegian arrest of 54 individuals was removed from online news sites of the New York Times, the Washington Post, ABC News, and The Guardian. The mainstream media's disgraceful kneeling to the White House censorship follows the removal from 4chan of Comet Ping Pong's pizza pedophilia-related Instagram photos and suppression of Pizzagate threads at Reddit. The contrived fake news narrative from the CIA and nothing more than a pretext for a dictatorial executive branch to impose blanket censorship on the press and online alternative media in the dying hours of the Obama regime. Okay, so these stories, these things that have taken place, they're very real. But they're trying to pass it off as fake news so that we don't look over at them. But there's a problem. We have members of our own government. We have Hillary Clinton. We have George Soros, people who are influencing society that are involved in very despicable behaviors out there. So we want to keep pointing the finger in this direction to bring this to light. Now, the narratives out there is all of this stuff is fake news. I mean, you may have heard about Facebook. Facebook now they're going to go after fake news sites. And they're going to use high caliber sites like Snopes.com to weed out the fake news sites. Well, isn't that the pot calling the kettle black right there? Because Snopes is completely biased, completely fake, run by a couple of individuals who are completely biased. There's nothing about Snopes that is truthful whatsoever. And the fact that a liberal like Zuckerberg would use it tells me one of two things. Either he's very uninformed about how fake Snopes is, or he's very informed of how it is, and he is somebody who's very interested in pushing a false narrative. I'm going to go with the second one because I don't think that this guy is stupid. Another thing about Facebook I find interesting is we've all seen the movie about how Facebook was allegedly created, and what we have here is a website which, from all accounts that we're aware of, was stolen. So from the get-go, Mark Zuckerberg was a thief. Stole a piece of software, stole the code, and went on and made this his own. Even have the lawsuits to prove it. And we use this, and everybody uses this, and don't even take for... we really don't even think about the fact that we're using a website that a guy stole the code from, and we seem to be okay with that. And the guy who did that, is it surprising then that he's turning out to be such a disreputable fellow? No, not at all. If the shoe fits, I guess he's got to wear it. And what we understand is this guy is not a very honest person at all. He plays like he is, but when all is said and done, he's for censorship. He's for all the things that are anti-American. And one of these days, all of his nonsense is going to catch up with him. And he's going to find out that the American people are not going to have any interest in what he has to say whatsoever. That day will come. The first will be last, and the last shall be first. All right, here's a file. This is from Wikileaks. They're referring to it. It just came out today. They're calling it an insurance file. It's a torrent, 83 gigabytes. Click the link right here. Download this file here. Save this bit of information. Save this information. That way you have it available for whatever reason, this stuff gets pulled down. Now, one of the questions here, people say WikiLeaks is compromised and the pre-October torrent files were 88 gig. I have no idea myself, but I'll pass it along. So these are important things to be aware of. There's battles going on out there. WikiLeaks is said to have had some of these battles and perhaps has been infiltrated. So when you look at this information, take it all with a grain of salt. Use it as a piece of information for investigative purposes. And remember, whenever doing an investigation of anything, it's always important to confirm your results. You don't just look at one piece of information and take it at face value. You need to have confirmation from other sources, because people out there do lie and they create fake news, and we have to learn to look cautiously to make sure we're not getting fooled. Now, today is the big day with the electors. We've heard all the nonsense that's going on. We've heard about the electors who are going to stand up against this. We've heard the story that with Nancy Pelosi's daughter, she's leading a charge of 40 electors who are not going to vote for Trump. Wow, really? Well, guess what? Those 40 electors happen to be Democrats. That means they weren't going to vote for Trump anyway. So, you know what that was called? It's called a non-story. A non-story. Because they were never ever going to vote for the person they're now claiming that they're not going to vote for. And we're supposed to think that this is some important bit of information, but it isn't. It's just something that is designed to cause confusion. Something to cause confusion. Now, whereas we think that these people are not going to vote for Trump, on the other side of things, the voters in Colorado who wanted to abstain from voting, the way that their state said, they're supposed to vote for Hillary. I think it's quite possible there could be a number of voters or electors out there who want to abstain from voting from Hillary. So, just remember the news source. Leading into the election, what were we told? Hillary had a 98-point-some% chance of winning. They gave Trump a 1-point-some% chance of winning. Okay? Completely unbalanced. And what ended up happening was a landslide in opposition to what they said. And now all we've been hearing for weeks is, how are their numbers wrong? Well, first of all, they made them up. They lied. They oversampled. And they think people are stupid. People aren't stupid. In the past, we haven't had the information because the technology wasn't there to allow us to have it. It's 2016. We all have access to this information, where in the past they may have been able to hide it. Can't hide it anymore because there's cameras everywhere now. Cameras everywhere. So here's this story. U.S. electors expected to officially confirm Trump victory. This is from Reuters. David Morgan. The U.S. Electoral College is expected on Monday to officially select Republican Donald Trump as the next president in a vote that is usually routine but takes place this year amid allegations of Russian hacking to try to influence the election. That meeting, scheduled in every state in the District of Columbia, the institution's 538 electors, generally chosen by state parties, will cast official ballots for president and vice president. It's highly unlikely the vote will change the outcome of the November 8th election, which gave the White House to Trump after he won a majority of Electoral College votes. The popular vote went to Democrat Hillary Clinton. That is incorrect, as you heard from the last article. The popular vote did not go to her. The popular vote is more of a story than just being able to say, as you know, went to one person. He won the popular vote in 30 states. She won the popular vote in California. By the conclusion of the U.S. intelligence agencies that Russia hacked into the emails of the Democratic National Committee in an attempt to sway the election for Trump has prompted Democrats to urge some electors not to vote as directed by their state's popular ballot. The leaked emails disclose details of Clinton's paid speeches to Wall Street, party infighting, and inside criticism about Clinton's use of private server to send emails while U.S. Secretary of State. The disclosures led to an embarrassing media coverage and prompted some party officials to resign. Trump and his team dismissed intelligence claims of Russia interference accusing Democrats and allies trying to undermine the legitimacy of his election victory. Russian officials have denied accusations of interfering in the election. On Sunday, Clinton's campaign chairman John Podesta said it was an open question whether Trump's campaign colluded with Russians about the emails, an allegation that Trump's incoming White House chief of staff Reince Priebus denied. A bipartisan group of U.S. senators called for a special committee to probe into the cyber attacks by Russia and other countries. The number of electoral college electors equals the number of representatives and senators in Congress. When a voter goes to cast a ballot for president, they're actually choosing a presidential candidate's preferred slate for their state. The candidate must secure 270 votes to win. Trump won 306 electors from 30 states. The electors convene meetings in each state to cast ballots about 6 weeks after each presidential election. If no candidate reaches 270 in the Electoral College, the president is chosen by the House of Representatives, currently controlled by Republicans. Okay, so this is what they're reporting. Just, remember there's contradictions to their stories because it hasn't all been confirmed. You've recently had Comey's come out and said there was no hacking that was involved. You've had members of the CIA. It's only one individual, an anonymous group. According to anonymous sources, electors around the country are not going to be voting for Hillary today. An anonymous source has confirmed that Hillary Clinton will not get the 232 electoral votes that she thinks she's going to get. See, I can do it too. We can do it. We can just make up anonymous sources and say whatever, and people might believe it. So that's what's going on in the world of elections, politics. I believe this is a very important battle that we're fighting here. It's a battle of good versus evil. I'm not the first one to tell you and suggest that Trump is here from God, but I believe it, and there are a number of others out there who believe that as well. I've brought many of these articles to light. So I believe that all the things that we are seeing with the various alignments of calendar systems, of stars, of holidays, of days on one calendar connecting with the other, I think all of these alignments have to do with the fact that this is something special, this is something significant. In the entire time of our lives, we have never had an outside person who is not an insider connected with all of the nonsense that has enslaved our country. We have never had somebody in power, ever. We've had many attempts, but that has always been stopped by the powers that be. This is the first time, my friends. It's crazy that there are people that are fighting against this, because we should be cheering as a country to know that we've freed ourselves up. But instead, we're battling with each other because over the years, liberal-minded educators have brought their mindsets to universities across the country. And the young kids, well, they're all taught a particular mindset. And it's not a conservative mindset. And it's not a mindset of loving America. It's an anti-America, liberal mindset that is opposite of what our founding fathers were about, opposite of what our American values are about. So we need to understand that we need to take back our country from all of the communists and the communist mindset. Because in my mind, when you say liberal, you're pretty much talking about a path that's leading towards communism. Liberalism, communism, socialism, they're all in the same arena. It's just not the same thing as a democratic republic. So that is what I do know, and that is what I feel. Okay, so today our moon sign was we're going to switch gears here. Our moon sign today was the Hermit, patience, timing. Well, there's an article here at In5D about patience. Why patience is a virtue, and this is by Martin Dizzy. Sometimes the extreme is expected of your ability to trust in the universe. If we do, we pass the test as in an exam. Although some periods of difficulties can be karmic, then we must endure the time without being able to escape it. Whatever you try to get out of the situation, it won't get better, and sometimes it even gets worse. Patience is needed and faith that is all is going according to a divine plan. As a child, we celebrated Sinterklaas, a Dutch version of Santa Claus where family members take turns picking a present out of a big bag. For some time, I didn't receive anything, and I saw how others did get their gifts. Photos of that particular evening show a very unhappy expression on my face. I felt like it did not matter, or I was jealous of other family members who were provided with presents. But at the end of the evening, almost all presents were for me, and I had already gotten a lot in the beginning. So why do I tell this anecdote? Well, for many years, I was in a situation that was very difficult for me. I tried to believe every situation is neutral and that we are the ones that give a meaning to it. Over time, however, I became angry and frustrated because I did not get what I wanted. One day, suddenly, I saw the image appear in my mind of me as the young kid being unthankful and impatient. I immediately realized the intention of this memory was projected in my mind. I had all the patience and the confidence. I had to have patience and confidence because after all, everything would be fine. I was put to hold by my higher self because I was wandering on paths where I had no business, namely those of low vibrations. So I immediately became aware of my own responsibility and realized that the situations could not affect me as long as I kept my vibrations high. Now, I like to go fast forward in time and show what happens if you stay in higher vibrations and trust in a positive outcome. Many gifts were given at the end of this process, of course in a different form. For example, I met people who brought me further to my goal. I received an offer from an unexpected source where I gained experience and worked out good financially. I could give many other examples. The frustrations are the result of the facts that your plan is not the same plan as most of the universe. But the universe knows better than you and knows how to get the most out of yourself. These are often situations you have not requested yourself. Ultimately, this is the maturation process for the future, so we are better equipped to face new challenges that will come your way. In other words, frustrations arise from the fact that you do not know the infinite possibilities that there are to make you feel better. The universe has this knowledge, and opposing to this only makes you feel more frustrated. Surrender and trust are the best options if you not have the answers in that particular moment. Okay, so good article here, really addressing an important need. Patience. This card is very significant. Okay? Here is the importance of this. We live in a universe that is made up of many different ways to look at energy. Spirit emanates and flows into life. As it flows into this reality, we associate and break it into different versions of ideas, fire, of emotions or feelings, water, of various expressions and actions, air, and those fire, water, and air elements combined together make earth. Well, from this earthly perspective, where we are at this moment, we can get very tunnel vision on what's going on with earth. And sometimes we forget about the fire, the water, the air, and certainly spirit behind all things. And when we forget about those things, we get caught up in our own agendas and we get caught up in the worldly ways. But when we stop, when we reconnect with our higher self, we start to remember that we are connected to a higher flow of information, and that the way that everything works, if we are to believe the processes that we have been taught, is that we present to the universe what it is we want, and then we allow that to come into our lives, trusting that the universe will bring to us what it is that we have asked for. The problem is, we don't always understand when we receive it that we are receiving what we've asked for, because sometimes it comes in different forms. And herein lies the patience, because we try to limit ourselves, or we do limit ourselves when we only think about what it is we know in this reality and the ways that we know of in order to get what we need. But trust me when I say this, that the universe knows many more ways for us to get to the things that we need than what we think about. So when we have patience and when we trust that the universe is going to unfold in the way energetically it's supposed to unfold, simply because it's like a recipe. We put something out, we allow it the time it needs to grow, and then we reap the rewards of it. When you go into the kitchen to cook something, it takes some time to cook it. Even if you're using the microwave, it's still taking a few moments that you have to put it in there, and you have to be patient to allow whatever you're cooking to cook for the amount of time that it needs. We can always tell in the physical world how much time something needs. So on a bigger perspective, the higher intelligence that looks down and understands what's going on also understands what our needs are as well. And it also understands our needs and the ways to get to things that are beyond our physical comprehension. So patience is important. Patience and timing. Very, very important. One other analogy I like to relate this to is being in a play. Let's say you're in a play and you're scheduled to come out in Act 2. But you decide, because you're too impatient, to jump out on stage during the first act. Well, what would happen? You would throw the other actors off because they would not expect you to be there, and you would throw off the flow of the play because you're not supposed to be there. You've come in too soon. So when you do a play, you have to wait till it's your time. You have to be patient and wait till it's your moment to go on stage. And then when you do go on stage, now you're in synchronicity with the flow of information that's happening, and you can add your component to it, and then you make your exit. And that's what we do. We patiently wait for our moment to interject, and prior to that time, we prepare ourselves so that when it is our moment, we can do what we have to do. Okay? It's just all about energy, and patience is so important to us getting to that understanding of how to work with this energy. Okay, and that finally brings us to our meditation for today. So go ahead and close your eyes. Take a deep breath. And exhale. Take another deep breath. Exhale again. And another breath. And exhale. Now let's just imagine ourselves looking at the world. We're simply observing all that we see around us happening. And we see the world moving, the energies moving around us. We can see past the physical sight and see these subtle rays and beams and flows of energies that hit each and every one of us. And we see how we are affected by all of these different forms of energy. Everyone is affected in a different way. And as people become judgmental about the processes of the energies hitting them, it affects the way in which the energy is perceived and the way the energy moves. And so we learn as we are moving through life to observe without judgment, to observe without attachment. And as we are able to observe without attachment or without judgment, we are able to see much clearer. So we see everything around us clearing out because we've removed that judgment. We removed our attachment, and we're just seeing, just observing. And we see a bigger picture. And as we see the bigger picture, we understand the subtle timing that occurs. And as we understand this subtle timing, we find our place within this timing. And once we know where our place is within this timing, we simply prepare as we remain patient until our moment to shine, our moment to go. So let's just imagine ourselves mentally preparing to shine and step on stage at the moment when the timing tells us it's time, while at the same time remaining patient to stand on the sidelines and observe. Well, that is our thing to do at the moment. And through this process of observing and then taking action at the right time, we find ourselves in flow, dancing with life. And in this process, we let go of the pains and the heaviness of life, and we simply enjoy. Heavenly Father, Heavenly Mother, we thank you for the blessings of this day. Thank you for the blessings of the past and all of the lessons that we have learned up to this moment. Thank you for the present and the opportunity to absorb and know and understand these lessons. And thank you for the future opportunities where we can put all of these lessons and experiences into practice as we continue to make progress. Heavenly Father, Heavenly Mother, we are blessed by your love, by your life force, by your Christ light that shines through all. May we continue to be patient as we allow this light to shine through our lives and through the lives of all upon this planet. So let's let the subconscious mind continue on the journey, continuing on the journey of observing patiently, watching what is going on. Let the subconscious mind continue on that journey, and let's bring the conscious mind back to the present moment on the count of 3. 3 coming back to the present moment filled with confidence. 2 coming back to the present moment filled with faith. And 1 coming back to the present moment happy, healthy, and whole. Happy, healthy, and whole. Take another deep breath. Exhale. And open your eyes. That's it, my friends. That is it for today. Be patient with yourselves today. Be patient with those around you. Here in America, we're going through quite a change. It's not the idea to create more division amongst ourselves, but to find a way to come together in unity as people, as humans. Okay? We are all members of the same race, my friends. We may be different colors, but we're all members of the same race, the human race. And we need to stop fighting with ourselves. We need to stop allowing ourselves to be divided. We need to come together in unity. And when we do, we'll understand our deeper connection to all things, because we're not going to get there by fighting. But great times are ahead of us, my friend. We could see how everything is lining up this year to end out this year and begin the new year. Lots of opportunities in front of us. Great times of change, my friends. Great times of change. So just be patient with the process. Just keep observing without judgment the things you see, and just keep sending positivity into the world. And if you do those things, I know that they will make a big difference in your life and in all of our lives, because we're all collectively doing this all together. All right? All right. That's it for today. I will be back with more news and information during the course of this week. Until then, I love you. Keep loving each other, and I will talk to you soon. Peace. I'm out of here.